the blaze, which is the trail. And I'm not sure if I made that point too, is there's another possibility that I've considered also, and that is that the the search area of the, and I'm using these set of rules that I've made up for myself, is that we're talking about trying to find the border here. I think that's like Montana, right? It's trying to draw the map that's on in Forrest Fenn's book, and that the blaze is again, if you believe that the blaze is a trail, I mean there are several trails that are in this area, and one of them is the Continental Divide. And but I'll step away for that second and say, going back to my original thought or hypothesis, is that you have to go, where Warm Waters Hall is Santa Fe, and then you have to take it down the canyon down, somewhere in Denver, and there's something there that you're going to see in Denver. And from Denver, you need to go to Cody, Wyoming, and there's something you're going to see there, and then you have to go to Helena. I don't know, I'm just making this up. There's something that you're going to see there, and then, right? But at some point, you know, and then dare I say, right, you have to go to Yellowstone. And it's also the point is that each place that you go, you're going to find some clue, and it's going to lead you closer and closer. I mean, it's entirely possible. That's why I've made the joke over and over again. How many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll? And the joke is that the little owl sits there with the Tootsie Roll, and I think he licks it like 4 times. He goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and then he goes crunch, and he gets to the center of the Tootsie Roll. And I'm wondering if that's what this is that if you follow the blaze, which is the trail, and you go from one thing to another, by the time you get to about the third or fourth place, it may you may have a you may have enough information threaded together where you can make an induction, which is a jump in logic, where you can basically say, man, this is really obvious that this is these clues could be more and more obvious, that you just go, hey man, it is got to be at this place, and you could skip searching for the other clues and just go straight to that place. And when you get to that place, you're going to pull in the parking lot, get up and get out of that car, and you're going to say, this is it, because you're going to see some aspects of the poem that you recognize that fit like a glove. And this is one of the reasons why I think that the thrill of the chase is so difficult. And I also think it's part of the reason why, if you go to Reddit threads and you watch, and other blogs, people have their own blogs on their own websites. There's tons of content on the internet, video blogs on YouTube, discussion boards. You'll find lots of people who have, in some cases, extremely good solves, where the first there's some part of the solve, maybe the first part, maybe the middle part, there's some aspect of the solve where it's right on the money. I mean, there's it threads in very nicely, and then they hone in on that one place, and when they go there, they can't find it, and they go away frustrated, or they go back to that place over and over and over again, that area, and they keep looking and looking at that area. But what they could be missing is that they are at the right location, but it's not the spot. What's at that They're missing something at that location that they should have picked up on, and maybe they're discarding it because they're like, yeah, that couldn't be part of this, when it is. And all they had to do was, there was something there, maybe just the object itself, or something that's on those objects or things, that will help you move to the next thing. Because remember, what Forrest Fenn said is that these are clues, right? And remember the story of what a clue is, and the story of the Minotaur and the maze, is that the clues help you guide you through the maze, right? And the story of the ball of string. And I really don't want to put more credence into this, but the story in Forrest Fenn's book where the teacher has the children strung together with the string, and that is the clue. The clue is that these things are strung together. You have to go from one thing to another to get to the next thing. And I think that does make sense, doesn't it? That he's saying that you have to go in a sequence and that the clues are strung together in a sequence. And you have to go to more than one place to get more than one piece of information. So I know that's kind of heresy, or it may make people really just want to scream and yell, or some people may be fascinated by it or discard it. But I think that's one of the reasons why this is very, very difficult. Why so many people are frustrated by the thrill of the chase when they go out. There's people who've gone out two, three times, people have gone out dozens of times or more, and they're not doing it right, maybe. And I'm not saying, I'm the knower of all this information, but I'm definitely throwing it out there for everyone to think about. What you're looking for when you get on that site. I have a bunch of hypotheses and ideas about what you're looking for. And I think you got to be careful because what what Forrest Fenn is giving you are clues, and clues are. It, I think I didn't want to get into it, but I think I'm going to get into it. This thing's going to be really long. I want to do. Let me see. Pull this other thing up. Hold on. Oh, that was the last thing I wanted to talk about. Was that figurative and literal. It's a serious problem when people start reading The Thrill of the Chase. They start looking at the poem and they start getting very literal about it. They start looking for warm waters. They start looking for places where there's hot springs, or there's a confluence of some kind of warm water joining other kinds of water, or canyons down and things like that. But remember that these are clues. They're not literal things. Another thing is the opposite of literal, which is figurative. And that's just a giant cluster, I think. Another thing, too, that Forrest Fenn says, and I'm trying to move away from the word figurative because I think I could go on and on about that, because one of the definitions of figurative, or synonyms for figurative, is symbolic, allegorical, representative. And then another definition is from the art world, from a work of art representing forms that are recognizable, derived from life. That's just a whole nother thing. But I think you need to stay on track about what Forrest Fenn said in regards to these are clues. And clues have to be in a sequence, not necessarily, but they do need to be in sequence, especially if you need to go to each place to get something, a new piece of information that'll guide you through the maze. And what I think is that the blaze is not a singular thing. A blaze are trail markers. So what we're looking for is the figurative, or maybe literal. A blaze would be a marker on a tree. Are we looking literally for a marker on a tree? No, we're not. But there can be substitutions for that could be trail markers. And those trail markers could be way more obvious than you think. They've been there for a long time. They're going to be there for a long time. And another thing, too, that I think that this thing could be around is that the thing that you're looking for, these markers, these that are part of the blaze that are marking this blaze trail. I mean, it could be as big as an elephant. In other words, a serious trick that a magician does is that they use distraction, and they know tricks about how to hide things right in front of you, where it's the thing that they're hiding is the thing that's right in front of you. And I'm not saying that Forrest Fenn is standing there in front of a tree with a picture of a tree, and he's, that you're never going to see the tree that he wants you to see because he's holding up a picture of a tree. No. But what I'm saying is that the thing that you're looking for, when you see it, you're just going to be thinking, there's no way that that could be it. Not the actual treasure, but it could be one of the trail markers. And I have a funny feeling that those things are more obvious than you think. I guess that's my point. Is the trail marker is far more obvious than you think, and he's also right about that you have to use your imagination. There's something about this that when you if you could figure out just like he said, if you could figure out the first clue, that's why I have a weird feeling about this. That if you figure out the first clue, you're going to be kind of ready looking. You'll have an idea and say, wait a minute, this was the first one. Is there something relative to the second one that's there's something similar? So I think those all come into play. Okay, so I've given out, I think, a whole lot of information, and I am being deliberately vague in some ways. I'm not saying exactly what these things are, what these blaze markers should be. I have part. I'm like half and half. I keep flipping back and forth on this, but I mean, it's entirely possible that these markers are spread out. I mean, one of them is in downtown Seattle. One of them is somewhere in Philadelphia. One of them could be in the panhandle of Florida.